Greetings once again, my friends, and live from Retro Central. My name is Peter, and this is another episode of Consolation. As always, I thank you very much for taking the time to check out my work today. I really do appreciate it. Before I get to this week's episode, I do want to issue a bit of an apology. I had a pickups video all queued up to upload to YouTube that I shot on Monday, which showed off all of the games that I bought, not only from the Retro World Expo, but also from a visit to Retro Games Plus. Unfortunately, the video was far too long. It was 36 minutes and change. And when I tried to upload it to YouTube, YouTube basically stuck its tongue out at me and said, no, we're not letting you upload this. So the video remains on my laptop, and that's probably where it will remain. I'll never get a chance to show you the unwrapping of a game called Blast Chamber, a brand new factory-sealed PlayStation game that I had bought that I unwrapped on camera. That's the thing that I regret the most, because getting a chance to open any classic game, whether it's an SNES game or whether it's a PlayStation game, being able to do that on camera and have that for posterity reasons was kind of a big deal. But things happen, and I'm moving on from there. So let's talk about this week's episode, and it's going to be a little bit different than it's been in weeks past. For this week, I decided to change things up, and I decided to try and secure a list of questions that I could answer, not only from viewers, but also from people in social media, questions that I've been asked in the past. So I'm calling this episode 5 Questions Friday, because today's Friday. It's a rather miserable Friday here in New England, but a Friday nonetheless. So let's go ahead and run through some questions. 5 questions. Question number 1. What systems do you collect for? Well, personally, I collect for the PlayStation, which is over here just off camera to my left. PlayStation 2, which is a bit farther off camera to the left. The Nintendo Entertainment System. The Sega Genesis and Sega CD. Super Nintendo. Nintendo 64, and you can't see where I'm pointing because the camera is limited, but you get the idea. And the Nintendo GameCube. Those are my retro systems, my retro library. I also have a Xbox 360 and a PlayStation 4 in my office, but I really don't collect for those per se. I play games on those. So those are the systems that I collect for. Just as a bonus, a little bit of background into how I got started collecting. I really got started collecting or adding games to my retro library after watching Pat the NES Punk's Flea Market Madness in 2012. I had been buying games before then for the PS2 and for the original PlayStation. I had been living in Arizona a year before then. But it wasn't until 2012 when I turned 40 and I got a Super Nintendo and a Nintendo Entertainment System that I really started to buy games for those and really started to get into retro and collecting culture, if you will. So, and that's, of course, where my relationship with RetroWare TV began back in 2012. That's when I visited the site really for the first time and became a fan. And now, of course, I'm part of the site staff, so it's kind of funny how that works out. So that's a little bit of background there. Where do you get your games? I am lazy. I do not get up at the crack ass of dawn to go to flea markets, and I do not hit the pavement to go to tag sales and garage sales. I go to resellers, and I know that's the lazy way. Call it the Gen X way, if you will. But that's just it's just what I do, and there are a few reasons for that. A, I am not a morning person. The way that I was at Retro World Expo this past weekend, where I was all bubbly and excited, that was all on adrenaline. If I have to get up early for work, or if I have to get up early for a doctor's appointment, or to do something family-related, anyone else will tell you that I am an absolute bear in the morning, and I hate being up in the morning. So that's part of it. The other part of it was that up until I got this job that I'm working at currently, money was very tight. So the only way that I was going to be able to get games from my retro library would be to trade other games in. And you can only do that really through resellers and not at tag or garage sales where you bring your games in and you get games from them. That's just not the way they do business. So resellers I have fairly good rapport with. In terms of where I go specifically, my home base, the first spot that I like to go to is Game Depot, which is located in Holyoke, Massachusetts. I have talked about them on camera a lot. And the reason for that is because they have been amazingly great to me. Many games in my PlayStation my Nintendo and my Super Nintendo library came from there. Because they have given me great deals. I have built a great rapport and friendship with the staff and the management there. And it's just a great place to go hang out. The guys are really down to earth, fairly knowledgeable, and very friendly. And that's what I like about going into a video game store. I don't like to be beaten about the head with upselling opportunities and things that it's something else that I need to buy. I just want to go and I want to look around at my own pace. And Game Depot is one great place with which to do that. Another great place to go if you're in the greater Hartford, Springfield area is a place called Video Game Castle, which is in Chicopee, Massachusetts. I just had the pleasure of seeing Ralph yesterday. He visited the store that I work at. The store is still doing very well. Ralph still has a lot of retro stuff there, and his prices are more than fair. So that's another great place to go. And the third place that I like to go, and the place that I've been going to more and more of late, is a place called Retro Games Plus. It's actually a chain of stores. The location I go to is in Newington, Connecticut, which is about 35 minutes away from me, 35 minutes south of here. I love going there because their deals on cheaper PlayStation and PS2 games are hard to beat. Buy two, get one free on games less than $9 for the PlayStation and PS2. I can't beat that. And I found some really, really good deals when I went down to the store this past week. So they also have a bunch of randomly cool stuff. They have t-shirts, they have Nintendo Power magazines, they have Orphan video game manuals, they have collectibles, they have collector's editions, they have systems, they have games, they have a bunch of valuable games they keep locked up in a cabinet, which are fun to gawk at and wish that you had a ton of money. Retro Games Plus is a very cool chain of stores, and if you haven't been to visit one yet, please take this as an honest, genuine recommendation. Please check out one of their stores. It is worth the drive if you have to drive a little bit. Definitely getting a thumbs up recommendation from me. So that's where I get my my games from. Question 3 I'm going to skip. I'm going to come back to it because it's kind of a long-winded answer. Question 4. How was Retro World Expo? I wrote a big article about this on the Consoleation website. It was, in a word, amazing. I know that it's a term that is overused, but that's really what it was. It was awesome. Getting to meet a lot of the RetroWare family, both past and present, meant the world to me. Talking, as I did earlier, about how RetroWare TV, the RetroWare website, was instrumental in my move from modern games to retro games. Getting to meet some of the people that helped to facilitate that move for me and provided entertainment for me and inspiration to make that possible really was special. I got a chance to meet Billy and Jay from the Game Chasers. I had to exercise so much restraint because I wanted to go all fanboy, and that's just not what you do. I went through the same thing when I went to E3 when I met people that inspired me to do what I was doing back then. You can't do that because that's what these people get from fans, and they don't need it from colleagues and other creators. So I tried to be very reserved, although I think that Billy and Jay knew that I was a little bit in awe of them. I got a chance to meet Norm, the gaming historian, same kind of thing. Norm has been so instrumental and inspirational to me from day one with my Retro Unscripted project, and getting a chance to meet him, going to see him in his panel, hanging out with him afterwards, it was a big deal. Getting to meet Rue from 16-Bit Gems, getting to meet Mike from Living in 8-Bits, getting to meet Eric from Let's Get, who I sold my copy of my copy of Tail Concerto to, and I'm so happy that he's got that game now because I think he's gonna cover it for a review at some point down the line, and I can't wait for that. I mean, so many people, John and Lance from RetroWare, my gosh, I got to spend all day with them, and even though they were running around here and there working on stuff for Retro World, just getting to talk to them, the guys that kind of kicked off the whole RetroWare thing to begin with, getting to sit with them on a panel, my goodness, I mean, it was just, I talked all about it on the article, and I don't want to get too much into it here, but if you can, check out the article on Consolation.com about Retro World Expo, and you'll know how I felt about it. Pixel Dan, Dan Erdley. I hadn't met him. I had been watching some of his stuff and hearing the relationship between video games and toys and just seeing his genuine enthusiasm for toys made me interested in and even more of a fan instantly. It's that genuine, dynamic personality that really, I mean, you can't. It's not possible to not like the guy. It's not. He's that cool. Again, but I could go on forever. But just check out the article on Consolation.com if you can. Do I have any advice for collectors? As you heard about from when I talk about where I get my games from, I buy my games from resellers, so I don't have a lot of advice per se. I will say this, though, about resellers, and I do think that it's important. Independent resellers, not chain resellers, but people who own like a mom and pop store, it is worth your while to visit those places regularly for a few reasons. One, because stock moves in and out all the time. You never know what they're going to get from day to day, and it does change, so it's worth going in to look and see what's there. Second, giving those stores your business helps keep those stores in business longer. If you wind up going to buy games from eBay, or if you wind up going to buy games at tag sales and flea markets and not going to these other smaller independent mom and pop stores, they're going to be gone. And you don't want to see that happen. These stores play a very important role in maintaining retro game inventory. So please visit those stores. And the last thing, and I think something that's important, is you can build rapport. You can build a relationship with the people that own these stores. It happened to me when I used to go to Fantasy Realms all the time. It happened a little bit when I went to Video Game Castle, where Ralph has cut me some deals, and it's happened a lot when I've gone to Game Depot. They've taken such good care of me there, and it's because I've been a loyal customer and because I've spent so much money there. So now when a game comes in and it is fairly valuable, sometimes I can get decent deals on it where I'm paying around, a little bit less than market value for it. So it's worth your time. There are a lot of reasons to go to smaller independent resellers. They don't always gouge you, as sometimes you'll see in other videos where you'll hear people talk about. Yeah, there are places that do gouge you, and we won't name any names in this video because that's not what I'm here to do. But the smaller places, your Game Depots, your Video Game Castles, those kind of places and others are worth your time. Please check those out and continue to give them your business. That's my advice to new collectors or people that are getting into it for the first time. And the last question on my list, what are your 5 favorite video game consoles of all time? I am going to cheat, and I'm not going to say console. I'm going to say platform. The reason I'm going to say platform is because some platforms are backwards compatible, which means that more than one console's worth of software will play on it. And you'll see what I mean when I go down the list. The Nintendo Entertainment System is my favorite. That goes pretty much without argument for me. The NES was the dawn of, or the rebirth of console gaming after the Atari 2600 kind of went down in a ball of flames. I didn't get my NES until 1990, but I played it at friends' houses for years before. I loved everything that I played. There were arcade compilations, there were sports games, there were adventure games, there were RPGs. It was so new, and it felt like you could play these games in an arcade, and with a Play Choice 10, you most certainly could. So the NES was just instrumental to me in a bunch of ways. It's a system that I will always love until my dying day. The only thing that I regret is that it's so popular now, and the games are so popular that the game prices have risen to almost exorbitant levels where I really don't collect very many games for it anymore. But still, I have a library of over 200 NES games, so that's good enough. The Super Nintendo is another console or platform on that list, and again, it's more of the same. Final Fantasy II, very first Final Fantasy game that I ever played, got me into the Final Fantasy series. Super Castlevania 4, which I'm hoping to play this month, leading up to Halloween. I mean, I got into Castlevania games because of Super Castlevania 4. Super Tecmo, or Tecmo Super Bowl was just awesome on the SNES. As good as it was on the NES, the graphics were better, the sound was better. Star Fox, Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. I do not like Zelda much at all, but Link to the Past is a game that I can actually play for periods of time without getting bored. Axelay, which is a fantastic shooter. I mean, I could go on and on. PlayStation 2 is another platform on that list, and this is where the cheating comes in, because you can play both PlayStation and PlayStation 2 games on there. Both of those consoles have incredible libraries, and being able to play them both on one console is pretty damn cool. The Dreamcast is on there. The Dreamcast is on there primarily because of its arcade ports. Being able to play nearly arcade-perfect versions of games like Hydro Thunder, NFL Blitz 2000, NBA Showtime, Crazy Taxi, Virtua Tennis. I mean, having the arcade game experience at home was never better, and remains never better than it was for the Dreamcast. And it's a system that I do have to pick up at some point when I get a little bit more room. I do miss mine terribly. So at some point, it's a system that I want to get. And the other one, let's see. So it was NES, SNES, PlayStation 2, which has a PlayStation, the Dreamcast. And I'm going to cheat, and I'm going to say, oh gosh, this last one is tough. I'm going to cheat, and I'm going to say the Wii. And the reason I'm going to say the Wii is because you not only can play Wii games on there, Wii Sports, of course, being such a big deal. The bowling game I played for hours and hours and hours. But also you can play GameCube games on there, provided you have a system that's old enough. And the Virtual Console for that system was probably better than any other Nintendo system that's been available. Getting a chance to play Rondo of Blood for the first time. Getting a chance to play Lords of Thunder without having to own a Turbo Duo or a TurboGrafx CD 2.0. I mean, the amount of games in the Virtual Console library, to me, was fantastic and a reason to own the Wii. And one of the reasons why I have to get one. I have to get another Wii for my library. So that hopefully I can get it so that it will play GameCube games and I can keep my GameCube in storage. And B, so I can get some Virtual Console games before the Virtual Console for the Wii goes away. So those are my 5. I'm sure yours would be different. The Sega Genesis just fell short. It would probably be number 6 on the list. As much fun as I have with that and as sports-oriented as it is, it just didn't quite crack the top 5. So that's my 5 Questions Friday episode. I hope that you enjoyed it. It's a little bit different. Thanks very much to the viewers and the people on social media for giving me these questions. As always, if there are any questions you have for me that you want me to answer on camera, feel free to send them in either via YouTube comment, via Twitter, or you can send me an email to pete@consolation.com, and I'd love to hear those questions, and I will tackle them in a future episode. Thanks for watching, everybody, and until the next episode next week, my friends, take care.